the package arrived without a return address. It appeared on Ethan Hale's desk on a rainy Thursday morning. No note, no explanation, only a weathered wooden box wrapped in faded cloth. Ethan was one of the youngest cartographers working for a historical archive in London. His job was simple: study old maps, preserve them, catalogue them. Most days were painfully ordinary, but the moment he opened the box, everything changed. Inside lay a map unlike any he had ever seen. The paper was centuries old, possibly older. The edges were darkened with age. The ink had faded, yet one word remained perfectly visible: Meridian. Nothing else stood out. No city names, no borders, no legends. Just a single set of coordinates written beneath the title. Ethan stared at them. Something felt wrong. The coordinates should have pointed somewhere recognizable. Every location on Earth could be identified, but when he entered them into his mapping software, the result made no sense. The destination appeared in a remote region far from any known settlement. According to modern records, nothing existed there. No roads, no villages, no historical landmarks. Nothing. The location was simply empty. At first, Ethan assumed the map was a forgery, but the materials were authentic. Every test confirmed its age. Whoever created it had done so centuries ago. That night, he stayed late at the archive. Curiosity refused to let him leave. He began searching old records, ship logs, travel journals, exploration reports. Most revealed nothing. Then he found the first mention, a navigator's journal from 1732. One sentence immediately caught his attention. Beyond the mountains lies Meridian, though no map dares show the way. Ethan sat upright. He searched further. Another reference appeared, this time from an explorer nearly 100 years later. The guides refused to continue. They feared Meridian. Then another, and another. Different centuries, different countries, different languages, yet all describe the same name: Meridian. Every account ended strangely. No detailed descriptions, no precise locations, just fragments, warnings, disappearances, fear. The deeper Ethan searched, the stranger the pattern became. It was as if someone had erased Meridian from history. Not naturally, deliberately. Near midnight, he discovered a sealed archive file. Access required special authorization. After several failed attempts, he finally convinced a senior curator to unlock it. The file contained documents recovered after a private expedition vanished in 1978. The expedition had been searching for Meridian. Only one item was ever recovered: a notebook. Most pages were damaged. Only a single readable sentence remained. We found the line. Nothing else. No explanation, no details, no survivors. Ethan felt a chill. The line. What line? The notebook offered no answers. Outside, rain hammered against the windows. The archive had become completely silent. He checked the coordinates again. Still nothing. Just an empty point on the map. Yet dozens of records suggested otherwise. Someone had gone there. Many people. And some never returned. The following morning, Ethan brought the map to Professor Amelia Ward, one of the world's leading experts in historical geography. If anyone could explain Meridian, it was her. She studied the map for several minutes. Her expression slowly changed. "What is it?" Ethan asked. Amelia looked up. "Where did you get this?" "It arrived anonymously." She remained silent. For the first time since meeting her, Ethan saw genuine concern in her eyes. "I've seen this symbol before." She pointed toward a faint marking hidden in one corner. A circle intersected by a vertical line. "It appears in ancient records across multiple civilizations." "Meaning what?" "No one knows." Ethan frowned. "That's not possible. Neither is this map." The room became quiet. Amelia examined the coordinates again. Then she made a decision. "We need to visit this location." Ethan almost laughed. "You actually think Meridian exists?" Amelia didn't answer immediately. Instead, she opened a locked cabinet behind her desk. From inside, she removed a photograph. The image showed a group of explorers standing beside a stone structure deep in an unknown wilderness. On the back was a date, 1978, the same year as the vanished expedition. Ethan looked closer. A word had been carved into the stone: Meridian. His heartbeat accelerated. The photograph proved one thing: the place was real. Somewhere, someone had found it. But before Ethan could ask another question, Amelia handed him a folded envelope. "What is this?" "It arrived at my office this morning." Ethan opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper, 5 words, nothing more. His stomach tightened as he read them aloud. Some places stay lost for a reason. Neither of them spoke. Outside, thunder rolled across the city. For the first time, the mystery felt alive. And somewhere beyond the maps of the modern world, something was waiting. 3 weeks later, Ethan stood at the edge of a mountain range that did not appear on most tourist maps. Cold wind swept across the rocky landscape. Dark clouds hung overhead. Behind him, a small expedition team unloaded equipment from 2 vehicles. Professor Amelia Ward had assembled the group carefully. No journalists, no sponsors, no publicity. Only people she trusted. Besides Ethan and Amelia, there was Marcus Reed, a survival expert, Lena Torres, a satellite imaging specialist, and David Cross, a historian whose obsession with lost civilizations was well known in academic circles. The coordinates from the map had led them here, to a remote wilderness hundreds of miles from the nearest major town. At first, everything seemed normal. The GPS systems worked. Satellite phones functioned. Digital maps displayed the terrain perfectly. Then they crossed a narrow mountain pass. Everything changed. Lena stopped walking. Her tablet suddenly went black. What happened? I don't know. She restarted it. For a few seconds the screen worked. Then every map disappeared. Only static remained. Marcus checked his GPS. The signal was gone. David's device failed moments later. One by one, every piece of navigation equipment became useless. Ethan felt uneasy.
Coincidence?
No, Lena replied. This isn't normal. The team continued using the ancient map. According to its markings, a route should have appeared beyond the pass. But there was nothing, only endless forest stretching toward distant hills. Marcus looked around. We may have come all this way for nothing. Then Ethan saw it. A symbol carved into a tree, the same circle crossed by a vertical line. MERIDIAN. The mark looked old, very old, yet someone had clearly placed it there intentionally. The team followed the direction indicated by the carving. Several hours later, they found another, then another. Each symbol pointed deeper into the wilderness. As daylight faded, they established camp near a small river. That night, nobody slept well. Strange sounds echoed through the forest. Not animal noises, something else. Distant, almost human. By morning, the atmosphere felt different. The forest seemed unnaturally quiet. No birds, no insects, only silence. The team resumed following the markers. Around noon, Marcus suddenly raised a hand. Everyone stopped. Ahead stood a cluster of tents, or what remained of them. The campsite was abandoned, weathered by decades of exposure. Ethan's pulse quickened. Someone had been here before. The team carefully approached. Inside one tent, they found rusted equipment, old backpacks, damaged notebooks, cooking supplies. Everything appeared untouched, as if the owners had simply vanished. David examined a broken compass. This isn't recent. How old? Amelia asked. At least 30 years. Ethan immediately thought about the expedition from 1978. The dates matched. The possibility sent chills through him. Lena searched the area. There are no signs of violence. No graves? Marcus asked. She shook her head. No remains either. That made the discovery even more disturbing. An entire expedition had disappeared, yet their belongings remained exactly where they left them. As the team continued searching, Ethan entered the largest tent. Most of the contents had decayed beyond recognition. Then he found a metal case beneath a collapsed table. The lock had rusted away. Inside lay several journals. Most pages were unreadable, but one entry survived. Ethan carefully brushed away dirt. The handwriting trembled across the page. Day 14. We found the route. It only appears at sunset. The others saw it too. We thought we were imagining things, but the path is real. We begin following it tomorrow. The entry ended there. No further pages existed. Ethan carried the journal outside. Everyone listened as he read. Silence followed. A route that appears only at sunset? Marcus said. That's impossible. David disagreed. Maybe not. He pointed toward the ancient map. What if the route isn't fixed? Nobody liked that idea. As evening approached, the team remained near the abandoned camp, waiting, watching. The sun slowly descended behind the mountains. Shadows stretched across the forest floor. Then Lena froze. What is that? Everyone turned. For a moment, Ethan thought his eyes were playing tricks. A narrow trail had appeared between the trees. It hadn't been there before. He was certain of it. The ground seemed unchanged, yet now a clear pathway stretched into the distance. Marcus walked forward cautiously. This wasn't here. No, Amelia whispered. It wasn't. The team stared in disbelief. The journal had been telling the truth. The route existed, but only under specific conditions. As the last sunlight touched the horizon, the path became clearer. Stone markers emerged from the shadows. Each carried the meridian symbol, waiting, guiding, leading somewhere. David's face had gone pale. Someone wanted people to find this. Or something wanted them to, Marcus replied. Nobody answered. The forest ahead looked darker than the surrounding woods, almost unnatural. Yet the path continued straight into it. Ethan felt excitement battling fear. For years he had studied forgotten places on paper. Now he was standing before one, a hidden road erased from every modern map, a road that should not exist, and tomorrow they would follow it, far deeper than anyone before them had dared to go. The path remained visible when the team woke the next morning. That alone made no sense. The journal had claimed it appeared only at sunset. Yet now the stone markers stood clearly among the trees, almost as if the route had accepted their presence. Nobody mentioned the thought aloud, but everyone was thinking it. After breakfast, they began following the trail. Hour after hour, the forest grew stranger. The trees became taller, older, their trunks twisted into unusual shapes. Some were marked with the meridian symbol. Others carried carvings far older than any language the team recognized. Around midday, Lena stopped to check a portable scanner. The device still malfunctioned, no GPS, no satellite connection, nothing. But something new appeared on the screen. A straight line, running north to south, perfectly straight, perfectly centered. What am I looking at? Ethan asked. I don't know. The line stretched beyond the display's limits. It continued farther than the scanner could measure. Marcus frowned. Could it be a fault in the equipment? Lena shook her head. No, the signal is real. For the rest of the afternoon, the mysterious line remained visible, no matter where they moved, no matter how often they recalibrated the scanner. The line never changed position. It was always there, beneath them, running through the earth itself. As sunset approached, the team reached a cliff overlooking a vast valley. The sight stole their breath. The valley extended for miles, hidden from the outside world by mountains on every side, and directly through its center ran a narrow strip of land, perfectly straight, like a giant scar across the landscape, the same line Lena's scanner had detected. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Then Amelia finally broke the silence. The line is real. Far below, the strange formation stretched toward the horizon, unnaturally precise, far too straight to be natural. Ethan stared at it. What created it? No one had an answer. That night they camped near the cliff. The discovery changed everything. Meridian was no longer just a rumor. There was physical evidence now. Something enormous had once existed here. After dinner, David gathered everyone around a small lantern. I found something interesting. He opened one of the reference books he had carried throughout the journey. The pages were filled with notes from years of research. I've spent most of my career studying ancient myths. Marcus sighed. Please tell me we're not about to hear a ghost story. David ignored him. Thousands of years ago, civilizations around the world recorded legends about a sacred line. Ethan listened carefully. Different names, different languages, same concept. David turned several pages. Ancient Egyptians mentioned it. Mesopotamians mentioned it. Certain Chinese records mention it. Even cultures separated by entire oceans recorded similar stories. Amelia leaned forward. What kind of stories? David hesitated. The stories describe a place where knowledge was gathered. A place hidden from ordinary people. A place located on a line connecting the world. Ethan felt his stomach tighten. Meridian. David nodded. That's what I think. The lantern flickered. Wind moved through the trees. For a moment, nobody spoke. The implications were enormous. Civilizations that never met each other should not have shared identical legends. Yet somehow they had. Marcus finally broke the silence. Legends aren't proof. No, Amelia agreed. But the valley is. The group fell quiet again. Later that night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He left the camp and walked toward the cliff. Moonlight illuminated the valley below. The mysterious line shone faintly in the darkness, almost like silver. As he watched, movement caught his attention. A light, far below, then another, then another. Ethan narrowed his eyes. The lights were moving, slowly, purposefully, following the line. His pulse accelerated. Someone was down there, or something. He hurried back to camp. Within minutes, the entire team stood at the cliff's edge. The lights were gone, vanished completely. Marcus searched with binoculars. Nothing. No camps, no vehicles, no signs of life, only darkness. Did you actually see them? Marcus asked. Yes, I'm sure. Amelia looked troubled. I believe you. That answer surprised everyone, even Ethan. Before anyone could continue the discussion, a sudden sound echoed from somewhere below. A deep metallic tone, ancient, powerful, like a massive bell ringing beneath the earth. The sound rolled across the valley, once. Then silence returned. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Every person felt the same thing. Fear. Not because of what they had seen, but because of what it meant. Something was down there. Something connected to Meridian. And after centuries of silence, it might no longer be sleeping. The next morning, the team would descend into the valley, toward the line, toward the heart of the mystery, and toward a discovery that would challenge everything they believed about human history. The descent into the valley began before sunrise. Nobody spoke much. The strange lights, the metallic sound, the impossible lines stretching across the landscape. Everything weighed heavily on their minds. As the team moved down the mountainside, Ethan noticed something unusual. The air felt different, warmer, almost electric. Tiny sensations crawled across his skin. The others felt it too. Marcus checked his equipment repeatedly. Every device behaved strangely. Batteries drained faster. Compasses spun without direction. Watches occasionally skipped seconds. By midday, they reached the valley floor. The line looked even stranger up close. It was not a road, not a river, not a fault in the earth. It appeared to be made of polished black stone buried beneath the soil. A strip nearly 30 feet wide, running perfectly straight in both directions. As far as the eye could see, Ethan knelt beside it. The surface was smooth, impossible smooth. Not a crack, not a mark, as if it had been created by technology far beyond anything known to history. How old is this? He whispered. David shook his head. I don't even know where to begin. The team followed the line. Hours passed. Then Marcus suddenly stopped. His face had gone pale. He pointed ahead. Nobody needed to ask why. Far in the distance, shapes rose from the valley floor. Structures. Massive structures. At first they looked like cliffs. Then the details became visible. Walls, towers, columns, an entire city, hidden in the center of the valley. Ethan's heart nearly stopped. That's impossible. The city stretched across miles of land, silent, motionless, untouched. Yet no map in human history mentioned its existence. No satellite image revealed it, no records described it, and yet there it stood, waiting. The team approached cautiously. Every step revealed more details. The architecture made no sense. One building resembled ancient Roman construction. Another carried symbols similar to Egyptian designs. Nearby stood structures that looked influenced by civilizations from Asia. Styles separated by oceans and thousands of years existed side by side. The city should not have existed. History itself rejected the possibility. And yet reality stood before them. As they entered through a colossal stone gateway, an unsettling silence surrounded them. No animals, no insects, no birds, nothing. Only the sound of their footsteps. The streets remained perfectly preserved, not ruined, not damaged. Preserved, as if the inhabitants had left yesterday. Ethan looked through open doorways. Furniture remained inside many buildings. Books sat untouched on shelves. Tools rested on tables. Everything appeared frozen in time. Why would they leave all this behind? Lena asked. Nobody answered. Because nobody knew. Hours passed as they explored. Every discovery created more questions. Then David found something. A wall covered in carvings, hundreds of them. The images depicted people from different cultures standing together, working together, building together. The timeline made no sense. Some figures wore clothing separated by thousands of years, yet they appeared side by side, part of the same story. Amelia stared at the carvings. This city wasn't built by one civilization. What do you mean? Ethan asked. She pointed toward the images. Look closely. Ethan did. His stomach tightened. The figures represented dozens of different cultures, some ancient, some relatively modern, all working together, as if people from different eras had somehow gathered in one place. The implication was absurd, Yet nothing about Meridian followed normal rules. As evening approached, the team finally reached the center of the city, and there they found it. The tower. Every road led toward it, every structure faced it. The enormous building dominated the skyline. Its peak disappeared into low clouds above. Black stone covered every surface, the same material as the line crossing the valley. Ethan felt incredibly small standing before it. The tower seemed alive, watching, waiting. Marcus slowly circled its base. No entrances. There has to be one, Lena said. The structure was too important, too deliberate. Someone had designed it for a purpose. Then Ethan noticed a symbol carved near the foundation, the Meridian emblem. The same symbol that had guided them through the wilderness. But this time there was something new beneath it. A message, written in a language none of them recognized. Yet strangely, Ethan understood it. The words appeared in his mind before he could explain why. His blood ran cold. "What does it say?" Amelia asked. Ethan swallowed, slowly, carefully. Then he read the translation aloud. "Knowledge preserved." The group exchanged uneasy looks. Ethan continued. "The first warning remains." Silence followed. Nobody liked the sound of that. Not at all. "The first warning?" Marcus asked. "Warning about what?" No answer came. Only the silent tower standing before them. As darkness settled over Meridian, clouds gathered above the city. A distant rumble echoed through the valley. Then something happened. High on the tower's surface, a light appeared. Small, at first, barely visible. Then another, and another, and another, until hundreds of lights illuminated the structure. The team stood frozen. The city had been dead for centuries, perhaps millennia. Yet something inside the tower had just awakened, and somewhere deep within Meridian, something knew they had arrived. Nobody moved. The lights continued appearing across the tower, hundreds, then thousands. Tiny points of white illumination spreading upward into the darkness. The city around them remained silent, but the tower no longer looked abandoned. It looked awake. Marcus instinctively reached for his flashlight. "Tell me everyone else is seeing this." "We're seeing it," Lena replied. Her voice sounded strained. The group watched as the lights formed patterns, not random patterns, precise ones, lines, circles, symbols, almost like a message. Then, without warning, a low vibration rolled through the ground beneath their feet. Ethan felt it in his chest. The sensation lasted only a few seconds, but it was enough. Something inside the tower had activated, and it was still functioning. After a tense discussion, the team decided to remain near the structure until sunrise. Nobody wanted to enter the tower in darkness, especially after what they had witnessed. That night was the longest of Ethan's life. The lights remained visible, changing slowly, moving across the surface like stars shifting through the sky. Shortly before dawn, Ethan noticed something strange. The symbols repeated, again and again, as if following a cycle. When he showed Amelia, her eyes widened. "It's a map." "A map of what?" She pointed toward the patterns. "The sky." The realization stunned everyone. The tower wasn't displaying random lights. It was displaying constellations, ancient constellations, the same ones recorded by civilizations across the world. As the sun rose above the valley, the lights finally disappeared. The city returned to silence. But now they had another mystery. The tower had somehow recreated the night sky, and it had done so perfectly. By mid-morning, the team resumed searching the structure. Eventually, Marcus discovered a narrow opening hidden behind a collapsed stone wall. It was barely large enough for a person to enter. The entrance shouldn't have existed. From the outside, the tower appeared completely sealed. Yet there it was, waiting. The group exchanged nervous glances. Then they entered. The interior was unlike anything Ethan expected. No dust, no decay, no signs of age. The massive chamber looked almost untouched. Rows of enormous mechanical devices surrounded them. Gears, rotating rings, metallic arms. Instruments whose purpose nobody could identify. Everything remained perfectly preserved, as if the builders had left only yesterday. Lena approached one of the machines. "It shouldn't be possible." "What?" Ethan asked. She pointed toward a rotating mechanism. "It's moving." Everyone looked. She was right. The machine was operating. Slowly, silently, but operating. Marcus checked for power sources. He found none. No wires, no fuel, no explanation. Yet the machinery continued moving. The deeper they explored, the stranger the tower became. Every floor contained more instruments, More records, more evidence that Meridian possessed knowledge far beyond its time. Then they reached the observatory. The room occupied nearly the entire upper section of the tower. A massive dome stretched overhead, open to the sky. At its center stood an enormous viewing instrument, larger than any telescope ever constructed in the ancient world. Ethan slowly walked toward it. The craftsmanship was extraordinary. Every component appeared impossibly precise. David examined nearby inscriptions. His expression changed immediately. "What is it?" Amelia asked. David looked up. "You need to see this." The wall behind the telescope was covered in maps. Thousands of them. At first they seemed normal. Then Ethan noticed the problem. The continents were wrong. Entire coastlines differed from modern geography. Some regions were completely missing. Others showed landmasses that should not exist. "What are we looking at?" Lena whispered. David carefully studied one of the maps. His face became increasingly pale. Then he found a date. A date written beneath the image. The room fell silent. Because the date made no sense. The map had been created nearly 2,000 years ago. Yet it showed geographical changes that would not occur until centuries later. Ethan felt a chill spread through his body. "That's impossible." "No," Amelia said quietly. "It gets worse." She pointed toward another map. This one contained details matching a volcanic eruption that happened hundreds of years after the map's creation. Another predicted the disappearance of an ancient kingdom. Another depicted changing coastlines before they occurred. One after another, the maps weren't recording history. They were predicting it. Nobody spoke for several moments. The implications were terrifying. Whoever built Meridian had possessed knowledge they should never have had. Knowledge of events far beyond their own time. Then Marcus discovered a sealed cabinet hidden behind the observatory wall. Inside rested dozens of journals. Unlike the others, these were perfectly preserved. The first journal carried a title, The Record of Cycles. Ethan opened it carefully. The pages were filled with observations, dates, predictions, warnings. Then he reached a passage that made his blood run cold. The entry described the arrival of outsiders. A small group following the hidden route. A group consisting of 5 individuals. A cartographer, a historian, a scientist, a survival expert, and a scholar. The description matched their expedition exactly. Every detail, every member, even their arrival date. The journal had been written centuries ago, yet somehow it knew they were coming. Nobody said a word, because everyone understood the same thing at the same moment. Meridian had not simply been waiting. It had expected them, and somewhere inside the city, something already knew exactly who they were. The observatory remained silent. Only the sound of turning pages echoed through the chamber. Ethan stared at the journal. Again and again he reread the passage. The words never changed. The description was exact. 5 explorers, 1 cartographer, 1 historian, 1 scientist, 1 survival expert, 1 scholar. Their arrival, their route, even the season, everything matched. David slowly closed the book. "No," his voice was barely above a whisper. "This can't be real." Nobody argued. Because nobody could explain it, the journal should not have existed. Yet it did. Amelia carefully examined the remaining pages. Most contained observations, dates, astronomical records, predictions. Then she stopped. A name appeared repeatedly throughout the text. The Watchers. The same name appeared hundreds of times. Sometimes in warnings, sometimes in instructions, sometimes in reports. Marcus frowned. Who were they? Amelia continued reading. The protectors of Meridian. The keepers of the line, the guardians of the record. The room grew quiet. Lena moved closer. Guardians from when? Amelia turned another page. Her expression darkened. Thousands of years. No one spoke. The idea sounded absurd. Yet everything about Meridian sounded absurd. David opened another journal, then another. Every document mentioned the Watchers. The records described a secret order responsible for protecting Meridian from the outside world. Their duty never changed. Observe, protect, preserve, prevent interference. Generation after generation, century after century. The mission remained the same. Hide Meridian, at all costs. Ethan felt uneasy. If they protected this place, he looked around the observatory. Then where are they now? Nobody answered. The question hung in the air, waiting. A few hours later, the team began exploring deeper sections of the tower. Many rooms remained untouched. Some contained books, others contained strange instruments. Every discovery revealed knowledge centuries ahead of its time. Then Lena found something unexpected. Footprints, fresh footprints. The entire team froze. Marcus immediately knelt beside them. His expression hardened. "These are recent." "How recent?" Ethan asked. Marcus looked up. "Very recent." Silence followed. The city was not empty. Someone else was here. The realization changed everything. The footprints led through a corridor hidden behind a library. The passage descended into darkness. Deep below the tower, Marcus switched on a flashlight. The beam disappeared into the shadows. "We're following them." Nobody disagreed. The team moved carefully, step by step. The corridor continued downward, farther, deeper. The air grew colder. The silence became heavier. Eventually they reached a massive chamber beneath the tower. The room was enormous, larger than many city buildings. Rows of stone pillars stretched into darkness. Ancient symbols covered every surface. And at the center stood dozens of statues, human figures, life-sized, arranged in perfect circles. Ethan approached cautiously. Each statue wore the same clothing, long dark robes. Their faces showed remarkable detail, almost as if they had been sculpted from real people. Then David noticed something, an inscription carved beneath one statue. He brushed away dust. The translation was simple: Watcher. The next statue carried the same title, and the next and the next. Hundreds of watchers stood within the chamber, frozen in stone, watching, waiting. Marcus shined his flashlight across the room. The beam stopped. Everyone followed it. At the far end of the chamber stood a door, unlike everything else in Meridian. The surface appeared metallic, smooth, modern, impossible, as if it belonged to another age entirely. The door was slightly open, only a few inches. Someone had entered recently. Marcus slowly approached. The others followed. As they reached the doorway, Ethan looked back. The statues seemed different somehow. He couldn't explain it. The feeling made his skin crawl. Then he realized what was wrong. Their faces. Several statues now appeared to be looking toward the door, toward the team. His heart skipped a beat. That wasn't possible. He had seen their positions before. They were different. They had changed. "Ethan?" Amelia's voice broke his concentration. "What is it?" He looked again. The statues appeared normal, motionless, silent. Exactly as before. Maybe exhaustion was affecting him, maybe fear. He didn't know. But the feeling remained. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The team passed through the doorway. Beyond it stretched another corridor, long, dark, and strangely untouched by time. Then they found it, a room illuminated by a single source of light, a lantern, recently lit. The flame flickered gently. No one moved. No one breathed. Because the lantern proved one thing. Someone else was inside Meridian. Someone alive. Someone who knew this city had awakened. And as Ethan stepped closer, he noticed a piece of paper resting beside the lantern. A message, waiting specifically for them. His hands trembled as he picked it up. Only 6 words were written across the page. "The Watchers know you are here." The message remained in Ethan's hand. Nobody spoke. The lantern's flame flickered softly in the darkness. 6 words, that was all. Yet those 6 words changed everything. "The Watchers know you are here." Marcus immediately searched the room. Every corner, every wall, every shadow. Nothing. No footprints, no hidden doors, no sign of whoever had left the lantern. It was as if the person had vanished moments before they arrived. Lena stared at the message. "Someone is watching us." David shook his head. "No." His voice sounded uneasy. "They've been watching us since before we arrived." Nobody wanted to argue with that. The journals, the predictions, the footprints, the lantern, all pointed toward the same conclusion. Their journey had never been a surprise. Someone had expected them. Someone had prepared for them. After another search, Marcus discovered a narrow passage concealed behind a stone panel. The opening descended deeper beneath the tower, far deeper than any previous level. Cold air drifted upward from the darkness. Ancient air, untouched air. The team exchanged nervous looks. Then they continued downward. The staircase seemed endless, hundreds of steps, possibly thousands. The deeper they traveled, the stranger the architecture became. The stone walls gradually disappeared. Metal replaced them. Dark metallic surfaces lined the passage, smooth, perfect, without a single sign of age. Ethan ran his fingers along the wall. It felt warm, as though energy still flowed through it. How old is this place? Lisa whispered. Nobody answered, because the answer no longer made sense. Eventually, the staircase ended. The team stepped into a chamber so enormous that their flashlights could not reveal its boundaries. The darkness stretched forever. Then a distant light activated, a single beam, then another, and another. Rows of lights illuminated the vast underground space. The explorers froze. The sight before them was impossible. An enormous machine occupied the chamber, a structure larger than a stadium. Countless rings surrounded a central core. Massive pillars rose toward the ceiling. Thousands of metallic components connected every section. The machine stretched farther than the eye could follow. Silent, motionless, waiting. No one spoke, no one could. The scale alone was overwhelming. Finally, Marcus broke the silence. "What is it?" David slowly shook his head. "I don't know." For the first time in his career, the historian had no theory, no explanation, no reference point. The machine existed completely outside human history. The team cautiously moved forward. Ancient symbols covered parts of the structure. Many matched those found throughout Meridian. Others had never been seen before. Then Lena noticed something. The central core emitted a faint glow, barely visible, but real. The machine still had power. Thousands of years later, it was still alive. Ethan's pulse quickened. What if this is what controls the line? Amelia looked toward the massive rings. It's possible. The black stone line crossing the valley, the observatory, the city itself. Everything seemed connected, and this machine stood at the center of it all. As they explored, David discovered a series of metallic tablets arranged along a platform. Unlike the journals above, these records remained perfectly preserved. One tablet contained a map of the world, but not the modern world, a much older version. Another displayed astronomical observations. Another contained lists of names, thousands of names, entire civilizations. Then David found something else, a warning. The translation took nearly an hour. When he finally finished, nobody liked what they heard. "What does it say?" Ethan asked. David swallowed, slowly. Then he read. "When the first collapse came, memory died before humanity. Silence filled the chamber," he continued. "The line preserved what remained. The archive preserved knowledge. The machine preserved the future." Amelia's face had gone pale. "The first collapse," David nodded. "It's mentioned repeatedly." He turned several pages. "The builders believed civilization was destroyed once before." Nobody moved. The idea sounded impossible. Yet, after everything they had witnessed, impossible no longer meant much. David continued reading. "The collapse nearly erased humanity. Entire continents fell silent. Knowledge vanished. History was broken. The chamber seemed colder now. Ethan felt his stomach tighten. The records described a catastrophe so vast that almost nothing survived. A disaster missing from every history book, every civilization, every culture, as if someone had deliberately removed it. Then David reached the final section. His voice became quieter. The machine was built for one purpose. "What purpose?" Lena asked. David looked up. Fear filled his eyes. "To protect humanity when the second collapse arrives." Nobody spoke. The words echoed through the massive chamber. The second collapse. Not if, when. Then something happened. The faint glow inside the machine intensified. The central core brightened, slowly, steadily, like a heartbeat returning after centuries of silence. One ring began to move, then another. A deep vibration rolled through the floor. The machine was activating. Marcus stepped backward. What did we do? No one knew. The lights throughout the chamber grew brighter. Ancient systems awakened. Dust shook loose from distant structures. The enormous rings accelerated, slowly at first, then faster, and far above them, somewhere within the city of Meridian, a deep metallic tone echoed once more. The same sound Ethan had heard from the cliff, only now it was louder, much louder. The machine had awakened, and according to the ancient records, that should never have happened. The machine continued to awaken. Massive rings rotated around the glowing core. Deep vibrations rolled through the underground chamber. Every few seconds, another ancient system came alive. Lights spread across the structure like flowing rivers. Thousands of years of silence were ending, and nobody knew why. The team retreated to a safe distance. Marcus kept his eyes fixed on the machine. If this thing explodes, we're already dead. Nobody laughed. The atmosphere had become too serious. David continued examining the metallic records. The machine's activation seemed connected to something hidden within them. Some answer, some warning. He simply needed to find it. Hours passed. The vibrations never stopped. Then David suddenly froze. "I found it." Everyone immediately gathered around him. The historian's hands trembled, not from excitement, from fear. "What is it?" Ethan asked. David looked up. The first collapse. The chamber became silent. For days they had seen references to it. Warnings, fragments, mentions scattered throughout Meridian. Now, for the first time, they were about to learn the truth. David began reading. The world before the collapse was united by knowledge. The builders created networks spanning continents. The line connected them. The archive preserved their discoveries. Ethan listened carefully. The words felt impossible. Yet everything inside Meridian supported them. The records described a civilization far older than recorded history. A civilization advanced beyond anything historians believed possible. Then David continued, and the story became darker. The builders discovered a cycle, a repeating event, a force capable of destroying civilizations. No one interrupted. The words echoed through the chamber. The warnings were ignored. The preparations came too late. The skies changed. The oceans rose. The continents fractured. The world entered darkness. Lena slowly lowered the tablet she had been holding. The room felt colder with every sentence. David turned another page. The collapse lasted generations. Cities vanished. Nations disappeared. Knowledge was lost. History became myth. The machine vibrated beneath their feet, almost as if responding to the story. Ethan's mind raced. Everything he had ever learned about history suddenly felt incomplete. If the records were true, human civilization had already ended once before, and almost nobody remembered. David reached the next section. This part was different, more detailed, more urgent. The survivors gathered. They created Meridian. They preserved science. They preserved history. They preserved warnings. They preserved the future. The purpose of Meridian finally became clear. It wasn't a city. It wasn't an observatory. It wasn't even a secret society. Meridian was a vault, a safeguard, a backup for humanity itself, a place designed to survive when everything else failed. Then David found the final passage. His face drained of color. "What is it?" Amelia asked quietly. David stared at the words. For several seconds he couldn't speak. Finally he managed it. The cycle is returning. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The records say the machine activates only when signs of another collapse appear. The vibrations around them suddenly felt much louder, much more threatening. Marcus looked toward the glowing core. "You mean this thing thinks another disaster is coming?" David nodded, slowly. "The machine wasn't activated by us." The realization hit everyone at once. They had assumed their arrival caused the awakening, but they were wrong. The machine had awakened on its own. Because something was happening in the outside world. Something serious enough to trigger systems that had remained dormant for thousands of years. A deep metallic tone echoed through the chamber, louder than ever before. The sound rolled across the underground complex. Then another followed, and another. The machine was sending signals. Ethan stared toward the rotating rings. "What exactly is it doing?" No one answered, because no one knew. Then Lena noticed something appearing on one of the illuminated panels. Symbols, thousands of symbols, moving rapidly across the display. The machine was communicating. Amelia immediately began comparing them to the observatory records. Minutes passed. Then her expression changed. Fear, pure fear. "What does it say?" Ethan asked. Amelia swallowed hard. "It's locating something." "What?" She looked up. "The source." "The source of what?" Her voice barely rose above a whisper. "The next collapse." Silence. The words remained on the screen. "Prepare the archive." Nobody moved. The machine continued humming beneath the city. Its ancient systems were fully awake now. Thousands of years of silence had ended, and something had triggered it. Something happening in the world above. Marcus finally broke the silence. "We need to leave." No one argued. The machine believed a catastrophe was approaching. That fact alone was terrifying. But before anyone could move, the display changed again. New symbols appeared, rapidly, almost desperately. The machine was trying to communicate. David and Amelia worked together, line after line, symbol after symbol. Slowly, the message became clear, and what they discovered was worse than anything before. The archive was incomplete. A critical section remained sealed, hidden somewhere beneath Meridian, locked since the first collapse. Ethan looked toward the glowing display. "What's inside?" David translated the next line. His face immediately turned pale. "The origin record." "The origin of what?" Lena asked. David swallowed. "The collapse." Silence. Every answer they had searched for, every secret Meridian had protected. Everything was inside the sealed section. Then another message appeared. Access required, final chamber. A new section of the map illuminated, far below their current location, deeper than any level they had explored. The machine was guiding them, or perhaps summoning them. None of them knew which possibility was worse. Minutes later, the team followed a newly illuminated corridor. Ancient lights activated ahead of them, one after another, leading them deeper underground. The journey lasted nearly an hour. The passage eventually opened into a massive circular room. Every person stopped immediately. At the center stood a gigantic door. Unlike anything they had seen before, the surface appeared almost black. Not stone, not metal, something else. The Meridian symbol covered its center, glowing faintly, waiting. Above the door were words, ancient words. Yet once again Ethan somehow understood them. His blood ran cold. The last record. The atmosphere changed instantly. Everyone felt it. This was the heart of Meridian, the place everything had been protecting. Marcus stepped forward. The door reacted immediately. A deep vibration echoed through the chamber. Ancient mechanisms awakened. The massive structure slowly began opening. Dust filled the air. Stone groaned. Metallic sounds echoed into the darkness. The seal was breaking. After thousands of years, the final chamber opened. The room beyond was surprisingly small. No giant machines, no massive archives, no endless records, only a single object. A crystal-like structure suspended above a circular platform. Soft white light pulsed within it, almost like a heartbeat. Ethan approached carefully. The closer he moved, the faster the light pulsed. Then the chamber activated. Images exploded into existence around them. Holographic projections filled the air. Cities, oceans, mountains, entire civilizations appeared before their eyes. The first world, the world before the collapse. The team watched in stunned silence. The civilization shown before them was extraordinary, advanced, connected, powerful, far beyond what history believed possible. Then everything changed. The sky darkened. Massive storms appeared. The oceans rose. Entire regions disappeared beneath water. Cities collapsed. Continents fractured. Humanity fell. The projections displayed generations of destruction, centuries of survival. The birth of Meridian, the creation of the Watchers, the preservation of knowledge, the rebuilding of civilization. Every lost chapter of human history unfolded before them. Then the vision stopped. A final image appeared. The modern world, their world, and above it, a countdown. Nobody spoke, nobody breathed, because the countdown was active, running, real. The machine wasn't predicting a possibility. It was tracking an event already underway. Marcus stared at the display. What happens when it reaches zero? No one answered. Then the crystal emitted a pulse. The chamber trembled. A final message appeared. The last message ever recorded by Meridian's creators. When the Watchers awaken, the cycle has already begun. The light intensified. The countdown continued. And for the first time since entering Meridian, the team realized they might already be too late. The countdown continued. Silent, relentless, unstoppable. Every second that passed felt heavier than the last. The glowing crystal illuminated the final chamber with pale white light. No one spoke. The message remained suspended before them. When the Watchers awaken, the cycle has already begun. Ethan stared at the display. His mind raced through everything they had discovered. The first collapse, the hidden civilization, the archive, the machine, the Watchers. For thousands of years Meridian had waited for this moment, and now it had arrived. Amelia finally broke the silence. There has to be more. David nodded. The builders wouldn't preserve all this knowledge without leaving instructions. They began searching the chamber. Minutes passed. Then Lena discovered a concealed panel beneath the platform. The moment she touched it, the crystal brightened. A final recording activated. A figure appeared above the platform. Not a hologram of a machine, not a symbol, a person. one of Meridian's creators. The projection looked ancient, yet incredibly lifelike. His eyes scanned the room, then he spoke. "If you are seeing this, the Watchers have awakened." His voice echoed through the chamber. "The second cycle has begun." The team listened carefully. For generations, humanity believed history moved forward. It does not. It turns, and again. The image shifted. Ancient civilizations appeared around him. Civilizations rising, expanding, thriving, then disappearing, one after another. Thousands of years condensed into moments. The collapse is not an event. It is a cycle, a recurring failure, a force humanity has never fully escaped. The room remained silent. The creator continued. The purpose of Meridian was never to prevent the cycle. It was created to ensure humanity survives it. Ethan felt a chill. Meridian had not been built to save civilization. It had been built to rebuild it. Again, the realization was terrifying. The projection raised a hand. New images appeared, the world. Modern cities, modern nations, every continent. Then thousands of lights emerged across the globe. The same lights they had seen on the machine's map. Observation points, watcher locations. The creator spoke again. "When the Watchers awaken, the archive must be released." David frowned. "What does that mean?" As if answering him, the projection continued. "The knowledge preserved here can no longer remain hidden. The world must remember." The crystal pulsed. Another image appeared. The machine beneath Meridian. Then similar structures. Hidden around the world, beneath mountains, under deserts, deep beneath oceans. Dozens of them, ancient systems, waiting. The team stared in disbelief. Meridian was not alone. It was only one archive among many. The creator's final words echoed through the chamber. "You are not the guardians. You are the messengers." The projection vanished. Silence returned. Then the countdown stopped. Every light in the chamber froze. For one terrifying second, nothing happened. Then the machine activated. Completely, the vibration shook the entire city. Far above them, alarms echoed through Meridian. Ancient systems awakened everywhere. The archive was opening. Across the globe, the Watchers were activating. And there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. Hours later, the team finally emerged from the underground complex. The city looked different. Lights glowed from thousands of structures. The black line running through the valley shone like silver. The tower illuminated the night sky. Meridian had awakened. The expedition left the valley 2 days later. They carried copies of the records, fragments of the truth, enough evidence to change history forever. Yet when they returned to the outside world, something strange happened. Many records from Meridian could not be copied. Some files vanished, some images corrupted. Entire sections became unreadable. It was as if the city had chosen what humanity was allowed to know. Months passed. Governments denied their claims. Scientists argued endlessly. Most people dismissed the story. Life continued. Normal, predictable, safe, at least on the surface. Then the signals began. First in remote locations, then in major cities, then everywhere. Brief transmissions, always identical, always carrying the same symbol. A circle crossed by a single vertical line. Meridian. Across the world, ancient systems hidden for thousands of years were awakening, one by one. The Watchers were returning, and somewhere beneath the earth, the archives were opening. On a cold night nearly a year later, Ethan stood alone in his apartment. His radio suddenly activated. Static filled the room. Then a voice emerged, ancient, calm, waiting. Only 4 words were spoken. 4 words that confirmed everything. 4 words that changed the future forever. Meridian is awake again. The signal ended. The city lights outside flickered. And far beyond the horizon, other lights began appearing, one after another, across the world. The cycle had begun. And humanity was about to remember what it had forgotten.